Hey, good day. Welcome. I am Dr. Z, greeting you in light, love, peace, and harmony. Today, we want to talk about super leadership and thinking about the context that we've been living in, the environment we've been living in. Do you agree it's time for some super leadership? Yes, thank you. And we're not just talking about politicians, we're talking about super leadership within our own selves to help ourselves, our clients, our families, our youth. But it all starts within ourselves. So I've prepared a presentation for you, and before we go to that, I want you to know that I am an author, and I've been a professional trainer in corporations and universities and high schools for over 15 years. I've written a bestseller in Amazon, Engaged to Create Super Performance and Profitability. Also written this book behind me, 25 Days to Living Your Happiness. And this book, 7 Self-Leadership Practices to Freedom and Power. And we're going to be talking to you some from this particular writing here. Because, there's a foundation to leadership. Think about it. And that foundation is self-leadership. If one can't lead themselves, there's no way they're going to be put in a position to lead others, yes? So let's get into this presentation here. Share the screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this idea here is recognizing that we want to improve our productivity. Then it's going to require that we improve ourselves. I had a mentor some years ago, and he told me, he said, Zaid, if you want to have better clients, you have to be a better person. We want better in life, that means we have to be better. Now, my intention is to share with you a formula for success that I've used over the last 20 years. And it's kept me free enough to live the life that I want, take care of my family and my clients and such. But I want to try to make a connection with you, a soul connection, a mind connection, a heart connection in this presentation. And then we can talk about whatever next steps you might see for yourself. Sound good? Thank you. Now, I'm just like you. I believe I'm like you. I mean, I've worked my life and prepared myself for my career, my chosen career. Got a wonderful family, wife. We've been married over 40 years. I got a beautiful, intelligent, talented daughter, son, daughter-in-law, and 2 wonderful grandchildren. Been making my contribution as a trainer, training and professional development programs, facilitator, creator. Worked with Booz Allen Hamilton, a major consulting firm, Coast, Plain, Virginia. Also taught in the MBA program at Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, and was a campus dean, senior manager at Strayer University. And my business is serving others, here to help people to grow. Got to assess where we are first, honestly, and then advise, be it mentoring or coaching, diagnosing individual, team, or organizational health, and creating customized training development programs to help us learn and to grow. Now, this super leadership system is based in 7 practices. I know people talk about leadership skills, there's leadership knowledge, there's leadership skills. Yet I believe there's something beyond that really is a foundation to whether we use those skills or not. And those are the values that we have, that we practice. And I believe these 7 values must be practiced on a daily basis in order to bring out the best of our leadership. What is super leadership anyway? Well, it has to do with increasing life and expanding life Increase for ourselves and increase for those that we serve, because leadership is all about service. And so one have the courage? And when I talk about courage, let's look at a couple of definitions from the book. That courage is to try new things, to risk failing in order to succeed, and to work to overcome obstacles in your way. It takes courage to do that. It takes courage to make a decision for a new year, to make a decision, to set up a plan, to take the actions consistently. It takes courage. So where do you rank on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the highest. Where do you rank on courage? What's your perception about you and courage? And I'm asking you to do this as an exercise that I ask people to do in the book. I'm offering it to you to consider. If these things are important, and I believe they are vital to our success as human beings, and especially if we're leading people, then would you go along with this exercise and write your number for courage? The second one here is persistence. And I'm defining that basically as just try again. Keep on pushing until you succeed. You know, it's kind of like if a person wants some water under the ground in a well, and there's a pump there, and he has to pump that water, right? Nothing's coming up exactly. People might come to him and say, why is he still pumping? You don't see any water. But he keeps on pumping because he believes that there's water down there, right? And the lower down the water is, the more he has to pump, see? Until that water comes gushing forth. Well, that's persistence. Continue to do, have the faith to continue to do, even though you might not see the results immediately. Yes? Thank you. Positive mental attitude. Consistent, moment by moment, thinking positive and focusing on what you can do rather than what you can't do or don't do or didn't do, coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? Focusing on what you can do, because each of us can do something. And the goal is to be 100% positive. And I heard some long time ago, it says there's two things that are going to determine where you'll be 5 years from now. One is the people that you hang around, and two is the books that you read. So if we're reading positive mental attitude books on a regular basis, and we're hanging around positive people, then we have a chance to exercise this principle. Self-discipline, strong values, morals, and self-discipline to do things right and to do the right things. You know, Mahatma Gandhi said, he who has mastered his senses is first and foremost among men. Women too, I guess. Yeah. All virtues reside in him. God manifests himself through him. Such is the power of self-discipline. What's your rating? 1 to 10. Same for persistence and positive mental attitude. 1 to 10. Self-confidence, the belief in yourself. Faith and confidence in yourself and your abilities to achieve whatever it is that you desire. Yes. A friend of mine, Ray Overdorf, he said that activity breeds self-confidence. Lack of activity breeds self-doubt. Arthur Ashe, he said, one of the important keys to success is self-confidence. An important key to self-confidence is preparation. So we must always be preparing, sharpening our axe, sharpening our craft to give more. Okay, the sixth one is self-esteem. Appreciate yourself. Appreciate your value as a person. You know, sometimes people grow up and they don't get value. They don't see their value. You know, conditioned by the negative environment, the social cultural influences. And they may not see their worth as a human being. But God has made you the crown of creation. He's created you in the most excellent mold. And when we see ourselves that way, as the Creator sees us and the gifts that He's given us, then we can, in fact, have more self-esteem, better self-image, and drive ourselves to what it is that we want. Speak positively about yourself and of others. And number 7 is integrity. Again, where do you rank 1 to 10 on self-esteem? Integrity, develop a reputation for keeping your word. And that's keeping your word with yourself, keeping your word with your family, keeping your word with your friends and workers. That's a big part of super leadership brand, having that superstar quality of integrity. How do you rate on integrity? Now, you go back and you look at how you rated these things, then what is one action that you can take to strengthen those ones that you rated a higher number? Write that down today. And then what is one action you can take to improve the quality that you wrote lower? And I would even suggest you begin to make positive affirmations and statements about those ones that are strong for you and those ones that you need to improve. That I feel persistent, right? If you need that. I need that. I need to be more persistent and keep going and keep going and keep going. Keep pumping that pump, priming that pump, even though I may not see the water right away. I think that's a big part of business, having a routine and being consistent and persistent. So as a result of that, this is really a system where you start with self-awareness. We know we need to change. We're all in an environment of change now, all around us. And also creating that growth mindset and growth heartset and demonstrating self-development. So self-awareness is the key. It's the key to freedom. It's the key to life. Being self-aware and then taking responsibility. That is responding with your ability to make improvements. And this particular idea here, in the way that I teach it, is having a proven system to achieve your goals. Not just set them, but to actually achieve them. See? And being clear about your values and your vision, your life mission. Why are you here? What's your purpose? And find that out and work towards that if you haven't found it already. We talked about persistence and integrity, but being accountable to your own self. That helps us be accountable to others as well, yes? So I ask you, as you go view this presentation, get some paper and a pen, take some notes, keep an open mind. If you don't have paper and pen with you, then just pause this and go get some. Because I think you're gonna see some things, learn some things you'll want to remember and review so that you can use it more often. Accept the idea of change. We're gonna look at what that process is like. And of course, be ready to grow and be prepared. Now, I want to define a couple of terms before we get started. One is training. Training is when you teach someone some knowledge and skills. But is it possible that just because you teach it to them or they have it, is it possible that they might not use it? Yes, it's highly possible. Because we have habits. And a lot of times people will go to training, the manager will send somebody off to training, be excited to come back. They might do some things differently for 2 weeks, but eventually as human beings, we tend to fall back into old habits unless we change them. So training is one idea, but development is really where the power is. And that is using those skills more effectively and more frequently and improving on them on a regular basis. That is where the power is for moving forward, exercising your leadership. So I'd like to ask you here, when you look at this diagram, how many squares do you see? Mhm. Now, normally people will say they see 16 or maybe even 17. Some may see a few more. But can I show you how many squares are really here? Thank you. So you have your 4 by 4, that's 16. Then if you look at the one big square, that's another square, that's 17. Now if we start over here with 2 by 2, isn't that another square? Yes, thank you. So that means we're at 18. We do the same over here, that's 19. Do the same over here, that's 20. And the same at the bottom left is 21. Then if we do 2 by 2 here, that's 22. Yes, another square. And then if we go in the middle and do 2 by 2, that's 23. On this side, 24. This side, down at the bottom, 25. Middle left, 26. Now, if we look at 3 rows over and 3 columns down, we've got another square. Yay. So this would be 27. This one would be 28. This one would be 29, 3 by 3. And then the last 3 by 3 in the left corner, bottom left corner, would be 30. Now, what is the point of this exercise? Well, if you are using your potential and the possibilities for your life at the 16 or 17 squares, that's obvious. When there's really at least 30 squares here, then how much of that potential is left undeveloped? Significant amount, yes? Yes, thank you. How many of those possibilities are yet to be actualized? Significant amount, yes. Thank you. So what this is all about is really helping you first to see new possibilities for your life, see more of your potential that you can develop and use. And that's what we want to show, kind of how we can do that. And most of the time we need someone, a mentor, a coach, a trainer, or somebody to help us actualize more of that potential, more of that power you have as a human being. Yes. Thank you. So the other thing in developing super leadership is keeping an open mind. And so I'll ask you to write these 9 circles on your paper. Got 3 rows and 3 columns. Put your circles on your paper. And I'm going to present to you a problem to solve. The problem, the task is for you to put your pen on the paper, draw 4 straight lines, but make sure that those lines touch every dot of the paper. And the other condition is once you put your pen on the paper, you cannot pick your pen up again. Right? You can't pick your pen up again, but you're going to draw 4 straight lines, and you want to make sure every circle is touched by those 4 straight lines. So let's give you a few seconds to do that, maybe 30 seconds to try. And just to have a little fun, I'm gonna have the little music. Boom, boom. Okay, yeah, gotta have a little fun. Did you get it? Thank you. Well, let me show you one way that you can solve this. If you put your pen down here at the bottom right, the bottom right circle, and you go up diagonally up to the top left circle, then you come straight down that column, but you got to go down further as if there's another row. Then you go up to the right diagonal and go out as if there's another column, and then come back across to the top left circle. See? One way to solve. And you can start in any corner and do the same process. Did you get it? Okay. Thank you. It's all right. Because what happens is sometimes people, they look at this figure and what they see is a square. Did that happen to you? See the square? Yeah, thanks. Happens to a lot of people. Well, that's a paradigm. That's a way of thinking. We look at it, we see a square. But in order to solve our problems, we have to begin to challenge the assumptions that we make about what we're looking at. See? Because we have assumptions going into the new year. So what are some of the assumptions that you have that you need to challenge about life, about the new year, about you, your ability, about your clients, about your prospects? What are some assumptions that you're making? And how might you challenge them? Keeping an open mind. More than just thinking outside the box. But looking, okay, what am I assuming here? Is that going to give me what I need? And I'll change those assumptions to get a better outcome. Thank you. But we're giving you some exercises as we go along because we really want you to answer some of these questions for your own benefit. And the other thing about keeping an open mind is, whatever amount of input you have, it'd be a lot. But if you're looking at it through old ways of thinking and feeling, Bob Proctor uses the term paradigm. You start prejudging situations by those old paradigms, like seeing the square in the dots. Then the value you're going to get out is going to be minimal. However, if you keep your mind open and you have even a smaller amount of input, but you look at those things creatively, you're seeing new possibilities for your life, for yourself, for the people that you serve, family, clients. Now, with those new views, those new glasses, you're going to create more value. Exponential value will come to you. Can you see the benefit of keeping an open mind? Thank you. Now, accepting change is important. And understanding that change is a process. We live in a world of instant gratification. We don't see the long view. We want everything immediately, right now, as we speak. Give it to me. Right? Well, change may not be like that. Because these columns represent time periods, let's say. And when you first get your new possibility, you see it, you want to go after it, you got a new goal, there's an excitement that comes along with it. And you start working on it and your excitement is going up. But then you're going to reach a period where that excitement is going to go down a little bit. You're going to say, oh, this takes a little bit more time than what I thought. Oh, I've got to put more effort in it than I thought, right? Oh, this is costing me a little bit more money than I had intended to invest, to spend, right? And so the energy then begins to drop. But if you stay with it, you be persistent, then you're going to start making progress towards your goal. You're going to cross over that status quo line there, and you're going to continue to go upwards. Energy will rise, performance will rise, results will rise, and you'll eventually get to where it is you want to be. Accept change. Because change is the only constant in our lives. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Thank you. Now, how do you sustain that change, though? Well, this is what they call the cash box: knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. On the left side column, the knowledge, that has to do with training, has to do with your thinking mind, your thinking self, knowing what to do. And when you know what to do and you do it, then you develop skills that can be seen externally. The knowledge is internal, the skills are external. But the issue is, do we always do what we know we should do? Oh, there's a gap between knowing and doing. And the only way to fill that gap is with our attitudes. What's in the feeling mind, the feeling self, your emotions. That's where the productivity begins, right? That's where we begin to improve our productivity, because it's our emotion can be defined as energy in motion. That's what gets us moving. If we feel negative, we're going to have a negative behavior. If we feel positive, we're going to have a positive behavior. And when we do those behaviors repeatedly, then that becomes a habit. Okay? And so to sustain that change, we've got to get our emotions involved. Fill that gap and have more positive behaviors and more of what we really want to have. I hope you can see it. It's a universal process, universal law, really. Now I want to show you the formula for success that I promised. And Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind. So we want to start with the idea of improving your productivity, improving your results, becoming more, reaching more of your potential, more of your power as a human being. Now, I ask you, what is the one thing that's got to happen in order to improve your results? It's one thing, and one thing only. Well, some people might say that one thing is to have a plan. Or others might say that one thing is commitment. But let me ask you, is it possible that you can have a plan, still not improve your productivity? Yes, thank you, it's possible. Is it possible that you can have commitment and a new attitude like Patti LaBelle's old song and still not improve your results, improve your productivity? Yes, it's true. Thank you. So the one thing that's got to happen is one thing only that's got to happen to improve your life is positive behavior change, PBC. This is why it's so important that we accept, okay? Because that's the key to moving better life, more production. But can I ask you a question? Thank you. What is the normal human response to change? That's right. Thank you. We resist it, fear it, dislike it. Some people do anything not to change. But why? Why is it that we fear it, we dislike it? Resistance. Because it makes us uncomfortable. If you want to develop your super leadership, you want to have better year. Whenever you're watching this, a year from now, you got to allow yourself to get uncomfortable, because that's part of the process of growing and change. Okay? And really, growth, change is part of the nature of the human life. In fact, it's the nature of life, period, because we go through stages of development. But it's not just physical. We have stages of development in our spirit, in our intellect, in our body. Yes. So we need processes to help us do this change that we may not like to do. So what are those processes? What's change? Well, the first one is having measurable goals. Something that's very clear, specific, measurable. You believe you can achieve it and it's going to stretch you. I say realistically high, not just realistic. What's realistic? Who knows? But starting from where you are, with your baseline, you can set your goal as something that's realistically high, that's going to stretch you out of your comfort zone, but not break you. Yes, gotta have goals. And goals for every area of your life, not just your business goals, but your family goals and your physical development goals, mental development goals, spiritual development, goals for managing your time and your productivity and your leadership skills, right? Yeah. All these things are important. Now, knowledge and skills, skills and knowledge. Knowledge is really going to come first, knowing what to do, and then applying that knowledge, you develop the skills. And then the last piece is the attitudes, the mindset, the heart set, habits of thinking and feeling, and the want to. You know, I believe I can help anybody that wants to be helped. But it's true, can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped, right? Thank you. So attitude is critical. Why? Well, one thing is that the attitudes, where do they come from? They come from our belief system. What you and I have been conditioned to believe about ourselves, about other people, about how the world works, part of our belief system. And those beliefs are embedded in our personal values, the principles by which we live our lives. So if you go back to the 7 self-leadership practices, we're talking about the courage, persistence, positive mental attitude, self-discipline, self-confidence, self-esteem, and integrity. These are values. And our life stands in and on values, on principles that then affect our beliefs, that then affect our attitudes. Now, what happens from the attitudes? Well, our behavior comes from there. And psychology tells us that 88-90% of our behaviors are subconscious. There's something that's lodged down below our conscious mind. I'm going to talk about that some. But this is critical. If we want to make a change, we have to make a change. If we want to make a change, we have to change our behaviors positively. But we have to attend to this attitude, beliefs, and values in order to make that change. Remember that song, Make That Change Right Now, Baby. My daughter always gets on me. She say, you say these songs and nobody knows what you're saying. You don't remember the beat, rhythm, maybe remember a phrase or two. Yeah, but if you know, y'all know that song, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's got it in your head now because it's in your subconscious mind. Anyway, most of us have been influenced. ENC, what's ENC? Well, that's early negative conditioning. Children, we were influenced by parents, by teachers, by coaches, by friends, by television, by music, books, all these things influencing us. And for many of us, it started off very negative. You know, so these things get into our subconscious mind, into our paradigms, and we're not responsible. You're not responsible for what your parents and such planted in your mind, especially the negativity of it. But now you are responsible. Change them. They're not working for you. Yes? Thank you. So what's some of the conditioning we got? See if you can finish these phrases for me. Children should be seen and not heard, right? Don't talk to, some would say, strangers. I think they used to tell me, don't talk too much. Because some of us are born with a gift to speak and express ourselves, right? Or how about, don't go where you're not wanted. Yeah. Don't speak unless you are spoken to. All of these things condition us, condition our thinking and our feeling world. And there's even more on top of that. I mean, is the Black Lives Matter part of something that was early negative conditioning? Yeah. How people have seen race, how people have seen gender in the negative, or age, or national origin, so many factors. Early negative conditioning. Big influence. Now, so here's the formula. And if you look at this, what do you think are the top one or two aspects of this formula? Yeah. Well, attitude. If you're thinking attitude, you are correct. You've got it. Attitude is the most important piece here. Because if you have the right attitude, you can learn what knowledge and skills you need to learn. And the second most important part is goals. Where do you want to go? What's your destination for this month, for the first quarter, for the second quarter, third, fourth quarter, for the coming year? And, really attitude, having the attitude that you're going to live your best potential for the coming year. Now, some people, they have a good attitude, but they don't have their goals clear. They're driving with a foggy windshield. And so they don't change. But then there's others, they know where they want to go. Their goals are very clear. But their attitude, not in the right place, negative. And so they don't change their behavior and get more productivity, more results. So what I've learned in 20 years of teaching and using this for myself is you got to attend to all four. But you got to really put a lot of pressure, a lot of attention on attitude. Because what we think and what we feel will absolutely show up in our lives. And be clear about your goals. Make sense? Thank you. Now, in terms of development, we can have an emotional impact event, but that's not enough to sustain development. Like you may remember where you were when you heard of the George Floyd murder, or where you were when you first saw that image on TV. But the thing about an emotional impact event, it has its impact, but that impact's going to fade because in 24 hours, maybe 50% of it is still relevant. And 2 weeks from now, if you remember 2% of it, you're lucky. And that's why a student goes to class, they get some information, they have an impact event, they're excited about what they learned. But they don't review it 2 weeks later, the test comes and they don't do well. Because emotional impact event is not enough to sustain development. So what's the key? The key is spaced repetition. Educational theory tells us if you go over something 6 times in 6 days, you'll retain about 65% of it. But not just for 2 weeks, but for 15 years to life. So this repetition is a life sentence that will continue to serve you. What's a good example of what we're talking about? Well, multiplication tables. When I ask you what's 4 times 4, 5 times 5, 3 times 6, 8 times 2, you know the answers immediately. But when I ask you what's 15 times 13, you don't know it instantly. Now, you can figure it out, yeah, but you don't know it. So, you want to use what we're talking about the same way you use 4 times 4. Even 12 times 12, you remember that, 144, because of the space repetition. You know, there's even songs and things that we have lodged down in our subconscious mind, things you haven't thought about for decades, but it's still inside. If I say Mary had a little lamb, can you finish this next phrase? Yeah. Whose fleece was white as snow. Conditioning, space repetition. How many of y'all remember that old McDonald's Big Mac logo? 2 all beef patties. And maybe it's so old you don't remember it word for word. Probably, probably 40, 45 years old, that slogan. Yet, still remember bits and pieces of it, if not the whole thing. So you know power of space repetition. You believe in it, yes? Thank you. All right. So, repeating your learning, getting in touch with state-of-the-art contact, and then taking baby steps every day. Begin to set 7-day goals. Yeah, you know what you want to accomplish this quarter. Well, what back it up to what has to happen this month, and then back it up to what do you need to do this week, and then back that up to what do I need to do today to reach these 7-day goals. Practice, 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 practice. We're talking about practice. Yes. See, the process. Now, I want to share with you in these next few minutes something that I think is just critically important to understand. And I would encourage you to review this recording over and over and over and over and over again. Because we are spiritual beings and the spiritual energy is flowing into us. God breathed his spirit into us. That's what gives us life. So it flows into us, it flows through us, and it also flows all around us. And we pick these thoughts up through our senses. What we hear, what we see, what we smell, taste, and touch. I'm reminded of some guidance that says that God breathed into us of his spirit. And he gave us, and then he made hearing and sight. So now he made these senses for us. And then it says that, and he's given us a feeling in the heart so that we would be grateful. But now where does the feeling? Right now we're talking about the head part. The spirit flowing in, 2 of the senses. And then we begin to have ideas in our conscious mind. This is our thinking mind. But when the soul accepts these ideas as true, whether they are true or not, because the conscious mind has the ability to accept or reject any idea. People will say, oh, you can't make it. You're too short to play in the NBA. But first, the soul doesn't accept that as true. And they grow and evolve and they prepare themselves, right? Because they have an idea in their head. And then that idea that they accepted as true, it goes down into the heart, into the subconscious mind, into the feeling mind. You see? And so let's say that you have a goal. You're thinking of a goal. This is your idea. Spirit has flowed into you. You've seen something, and you've heard something. You've touched something. You get this idea. I want to earn a certain amount of money. 50% more than I earned last year, right? That could be a goal. Or your goal could be, I want to earn in 1 month the amount of money I earned all of last year, right? Some might not accept that idea because somewhere in their feeling world, they may not believe that they can do it. But if you have whatever your goal is, and then you add the emotions, the feelings of love, I would love to serve this person. I would love to help this person, right? And you begin to affirm on a regular basis that I feel happy and grateful now that I have this monthly income, take the amount, monthly income equal to what I made last year, all of last year. Excuse me. And you bring that happiness and gratitude and the love feelings to that goal. Now you've got your feelings and your thoughts in sync, and that's going to move down into your body. Your body will begin to vibrate. And as that body vibrates, you know, we are vibratory creatures. And whatever it is, however we're vibrating, there's an equal vibration out in the physical environment. You know, you think about a radio station, for example. You have the thought, the feeling you want to hear some upbeat music. You know, you want to hear some rhythm and blues or some hip hop or some maybe you want to hear some gospel music or some classical music, or you want to tune into the talk show, right? And you get on your radio, but you got to dial that frequency that programming is. Notice they call them program. Everything is programmed. There's a frequency that program is on. And you decide that that's what you want to hear, you got to dial your radio to that frequency in order to receive what it is that you're after. You see it? Thank you. So, your body begins to vibrate. And that vibration is the frequency that you're dialing. The body can become the unconscious mind. You do things unconsciously. And that vibration leads to the action that you take to dial that frequency. You match that frequency that's in the physical environment, you start seeing new possibilities. Okay? And once you get that frequency and get that flow going now, you can be creative. Be creative for the new year and turn that creativity into service. Okay? How can I help? How can I be of service? How can I increase my service today? Knowing that my rewards in life must be equal in proportion to the service that I give. Yes. Do this every day. List down the ideas of how you can increase your service. Some of them won't be good at all, but some of them will be very good. And you can begin to implement those in being creative in the service. Keep doing it. Persistence, right? Positive mental attitude, self-discipline. Now you're building momentum. And you're starting to feel better. Be a little bit more at ease because you see things are working. You're in that change, that flow, right? And you're getting more of the results that you desire. That's how it works. Can you see it? Thank you. You know, we're using this process whether we're consciously aware of it or not. But here in the positive, you keep going and you just continue. Because as you see and hear and touch those desired results, you're going to go back into the same flow, conscious thinking, ideas, subconscious feelings, and mind, feeling mind, vibrating the body, taking more action, more creativity, service. Yes? Thank you. So how can you implement it, right? That becomes a question at each of those stages. Now, on the opposite side, again, the process is still occurring. Grit flows in. We get these thoughts coming into our five senses. We have ideas. We're thinking. Flows to our subconscious mind. But if we have that goal, it's a positive goal. Is it possible that a person can think negatively? Feel negatively? They state, I want such and such. But then if they're feeling the fear, they're feeling the loss, they're feeling I can't do it, they're feeling I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy. A lot of people struggle with this. I've struggled with it myself in the past because of following this process in a negative way. And even now, I have days where, I feel like maybe I'm not good enough. You ever have those kind of days? Can you relate to what I'm talking about now? Thank you. But if we get stuck there and we start vibrating from there, our unconscious mind takes over. We start acting from these places of fear and loss, and then we hit that frequency in the physical environment. Now we got confusion and incongruence because our thinking and our feelings are not in sync with each other, and our body is not in sync with what. See? And so anxiety shows up, worry shows up. We suppress those feelings, and that can lead to depression, disease, even getting undesirable results. And when we're stuck in that pattern, that paradigm, those old ways of thinking, and we're going to continue to stay in that loop. It's a sad thing. You can even feel the energy go down. Can you feel the energy go down? Even looking at all of this, just the word fear itself, and it can't negative, it moves us down. So what we can do then is make it a point to put positivity in every single day, all day. And that means you got to learn some new things, but you also got to study it so that you can understand it. And when we do this consistently now, and we believe these ideas to be true now, we move into faith, feelings of faith, love, and hope. And from there, our body vibrates. We hit the frequency of what we're hoping for in the new possibilities, and we get more results in our creativity and our service. See it? Great. Thank you. Now, in terms of resources, again, repetitive thoughts and feelings. Make sure those feelings and thoughts line up with each other. Make sure you begin to learn to ask empowering questions. Not the old questions that were disempowering, or brought us down, but start to ask those questions that are empowering, that bring you up, that show you possibilities and hope. And use the resources of universal truth, the universal laws. They're written in the Word of God. Whatever word you're reading, study it, but you got to use it. And I don't like to just talk about, people say, well, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, or I believe in God, but I'm spiritual. See, I don't know what that means. That means a lot of different things, a lot of different people. But what I like to talk about is the universal truth, the universal laws that are operating in nature, that are operating within you. And also encourage you to be truthful with yourself. Be honest, have integrity with yourself. If you say you're going to do something, do it, because that builds trust in yourself. The more trust we build within ourselves, the more trust that send that vibration out to others. Positive mental attitude books, videos, audio. Gosh, there's so much material out here on YouTube and other places. Tune in every day. Put the positive in, and that's what's going to come out. And a new way of learning, new way of looking at things is learn something about neuroscience. How the science of how the brain works. Some of this is communicated here. Napoleon Hill said, whatever the mind, or maybe it was Andrew Carnegie, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Now that's a nice slogan, but you really have to look those words up. What does it mean to conceive? What does it mean to believe it? What does it mean to achieve? Give you a homework assignment. I'm an instructor, I can't help. And then do that physical exercise every day. Okay, we got to jump off here, but you want to think about your possibilities that are in front of you this year. Be clear that your thoughts and your feelings are the fundamentals of your belief, the pictures you have in your mind, right? All parts of the belief. Giving hearing, giving sight, and giving feeling in the heart where your beliefs are. Now, look at the assumptions that you're making. What are some old assumptions that you need to change and come up with some new ones? Write them down. And then develop goals in each of these areas: mental, physical, time management, productivity, wealth creation. What's your goal for this year in creating wealth? Career development, business development, family, community development. You can get in touch with your own talents and skills and strengths. There's nobody on this planet like you. There's no one that can do what you can do the way you do it. Cover your purpose. Live it. And we got too much here. But I will just say, going back to the cash boxes, the cash circle we talked about, I believe life is about creativity and service. You got to get clear about your values, your beliefs, your vision, your mission, your purpose. And then that's all the inner work we've got to do. Got to do the inner work on our perceptions, on our reason, our intuition, our imagination, and our will. When we do the inner work and assess goals, plans, actions, results in the outer results, outer work. And then just keep going and keep doing it. So to give you perspective, it's always either a graphic or a text. McDonald's, we think of graphic. Nike, we think of graphic. FedEx, we think of text. There is a graphic here. And that graphic is this white arrow between the bottom of the E and the left of the X. And maybe you've never seen that before. Or maybe you have. But one thing for sure, if this is new, every time you look at the FedEx, you're always going to see that arrow first. And that's what this new year is all about. And that's what I want to help you do, is see those possibilities that are there for you. Begin to actualize them. So if you're interested, if you like what you got, if you love what you heard in this presentation and what you felt in this presentation, I invite you to purchase the ebook, 7 Self-Leadership Practices, the Freedom and Power to boost your courage and persistence and positive attitude and those 7 things we talked about. Ebook's just $10. And if you do purchase it, I'll give you a free 30-minute solution call. Help you with something that you can use immediately. And that call is worth $250. So you get $260 worth of value for only $10. And it's something that you can use over and over again. If you read these chapters over and over and over again, spaced repetition, remember? Yes. Then you will develop more of your potential, your super leadership. Actualize the possibilities that are in front of you for you. DrZHappiness.com/programs. And I am so grateful